that whosoever has a hand in my papa's death would never know joy and peace. And when they think that they have what they have always wished for, may it turn around to cause them severe pain and misery. After the marriage rites, Dimma went home with her husband and met a very scattered and tiny room which she will consider her new home moving forward. At first, she was disgusted, and honestly, she did not know how to feel. Her stepmother had sold her out, dashed her out to a very poor man whom she barely knows. This is my reality now, my new home. I have to make it into what I want it to be, she said to herself. That day, her husband welcomed her home and excused himself to go play some drums so that he would get some tips for them to use for dinner that day. And he left. Dimma sat down to take it all in. She thought to herself, well, at least I'm in my husband's house. I wouldn't be talked down on or treated like nothing. At least here, I get to breathe and be free, she said, taking in some breath of fresh air for the new beginnings. She then got to work. She rearranged the entire room and set everything in place, washed plates and dirty clothes. And when she was done, she searched for the little foodstuffs she could find in the kitchen and she put something together for their dinner. When Obinna the drummer came back that day, he could not believe it was his room. He was very surprised at how nice everything was arranged to be, and his once scattered abode felt like home. He thanked Dimma very much for a job well done and thanked her even more after she brought him dinner. He didn't imagine something this delicious could come from the little foodstuff he had in the kitchen. The couple respected and cared for each other so much, even in their abject poverty. Obinna would give his wife little or no money every day to prepare food, and Dimma would manage it without complaining. She would always encourage Obinna to keep hustling and never give up on his dreams, that one day God will surely remember and bless them. Meanwhile, one day, a very wealthy man from their neighboring town, Udi, came into Akuke village and went to the village square and started throwing money in the air. The villagers were rushing and picking the money. The chief and his boys made sure everyone went home with something that day. He was the talk of the town, and soon Mama Kosi and her daughter heard about him. Mama Kosi called Kosi and told her that an opportunity had presented itself for them to be wealthy forever. She told her about Chief Omego, the wealthy man, and how they had to act fast in order to get him to notice Kosi before someone else did. So, Kosi got dressed in a very beautiful and intricate outfit that revealed some parts of her body, and her mother helped her cook the yummiest fio with roasted yam and dried fish. Her mother gave her a portion to apply on her tongue so that Chief Omego would listen and adhere to whatever she says. She packed everything and set out for her mission. When she got to where Omego lodged in the village, she told his guards that it was a tradition of Akuke village to send a maiden to welcome any noble guests that visited. She was then invited into the room Chief Omego was in, and she welcomed him warmly, engaging him in a small conversation. Later on, She served him the delicious dish, and Omego was wowed at how tasty the food was. I really enjoyed the food. Fio Fio is one of my favorite meals. How did you guess right? Chief Omego said, rubbing his belly in fulfillment. Well, Chief, I happen to know what men like you love. So tell me, Chief, what brings you to Akoke village? And where might you be from? Kosi queried him. He told her he was from Odi, the neighboring village, and that he dealt on palm oil and came to do some trading with Akoke village. He also mentioned that he came to look for a wife from Akoke, as he had heard that their women were super talented in having great and beautiful bodies. Well, you're definitely not wrong about that, Chief, Kosi said, smiling. Chief Omego then asked Kosi to come back in the evening so that they would get to know each other better. And she agreed without hesitation and left. She went home very happy for a successful mission. She told her mother everything that had transpired between herself and Chief Omego. And Mama Kosi was elated. She advised Kosi to pack things for a sleepover so that she would seal the deal and lock Chief up into proposing to marry her. Later that evening, Mama Kosi made another sumptuous meal, abacha with oba plus soft peppered pomo and a giant fried fish. When Kosi presented Chief with this meal, Chief did not know when he brought out some bundles of money and blessed her with it. He was actually very impressed. Later that night, Chief Omego made some moves to sleep with Kosi, but Kosi told him that she was not that cheapo and that she doesn't want him to sleep with her and then run off to his village. Please, Chief, I need a guarantee that you would not abandon me, Kosi said, feigning sadness. Chief Omegu assured her that, in fact, he had seen the wife he was looking for. He proposed marriage to Kosi immediately, and Kosi accepted joyfully, opening her legs for him eventually. The next day, Chief went to Kosi's house to see her mother and fixed a day to come with his Omona to pay her bride price and perform all the necessary rites so that Kosi would go back with him to Udi. After that very visit, Mama Kosi started wearing dresses with double shoulder pads. Her ego went from 50 to 100. She did not hesitate to tell whoever cared to listen that her daughter would be getting married to Chief Omego in no time. On the fixed day for the marriage, Mama Kosi and her daughter got everything ready and decided not to invite Dimma because they did not want to be identified as a family to the poor famished girl. They waited all day but did not see any sign of Chief or his people. They made some excuses for them and decided to wait the next day as well. But there was still no sign of Chief. Kosi and her mother became very worried, and soon some of their friends started laughing at them. However, the next week, Chief arrived at Kuke again in style, this time with his Omuna. After his usual way of announcing that he is in town, he proceeded to Kosi's house. On getting there, he first of all brought out a big bag of gold jewelries for Mama Kosi, whose anger melted immediately. He then handed his bride a set of princess clothes worth lots of money. He apologized for the disappointment, saying he was out on a business trip and couldn't make it. They quickly forgave him, and the bride price and traditional rites were made. The wedding followed suit after 3 days, and it was the talk of the town for ages. There was more than enough of everything for everybody, and after that, Kosi traveled with her husband to his village. Back to Dimma and her husband, things were not getting any better for them. So, Dimma decided to help out by getting a job. She was saving some parts of the money she earned and using the remaining to feed herself and her husband, who was barely bringing in 200 naira home daily. When Obinna asked, she informed him that she got a cleaner job for a restaurant at the village market. Obinna was very proud of his wife and praised her genuinely for being a blessing to his life. 3 months after their marriage, Dimma took in. This news was received by Obinna with a mixture of joy and fear. He communicated his worry of bringing in an innocent child into their miserable, poverty-stricken life. But Dimma lifted his spirits by telling him that she had been saving up some money so that they can be buying baby items little by little. And by the time the baby got here, everything would have been set and ready. She told Obinna that so far she had saved 30k and brought it out to show him. Obinna felt tears welling up in his eyes as he held the money. How did I get so lucky to have married such a resourceful, caring and loving wife like you, Dimma? I am so grateful for the gift of you. But there is something I want to show you. I have not been entirely honest with you, Obinna said. How do you mean, Nkem? What are you talking about? Dimma questioned him in confusion. Don't worry, my love. Just dress up. We are going to make a little trip to Udi village. There is something you must know. The next day, they set out to Udi village, and once they got there, the bike man drove them straight to the king's palace. From the gate, Obinna was greeted and referred to as Your Majesty. And on entering the palace, the king rushed out to hug and bless him. Obinna took Dimma's hand, who was already in shock at everything that was happening, and introduced her as his wife and the mother of his unborn child. He then knelt down in front of Dimma and apologized. I am so sorry, Dimma, that I did not tell you about this earlier. You see, I am the only child of my father and the heir to his throne. I did not want to make the same mistakes my father made when he married a second wife after my mother died. All the woman knew how to do was to squander all my father's money, and she almost killed him so that she would take over everything. But she was caught beforehand and was terribly dealt with. Obinna went ahead to explain how his fear of marrying a woman who only wanted him for his money and status drove him to make the decision of going to another village and disguising as a poor man. He said that when Mama Kosi was willing to marry her off to a man without asking for bride price, that was when he knew that something had to be wrong somewhere. Dimma's eyes were filled with tears as she hugged her husband and thanked God, who had finally brought her out of misery. Dimma was accepted into the royal family as a princess and wife to the prince, their future queen. News of how the prince of Udi disguised himself as a poor man and found true love traveled the whole village like wildfire. And soon, Kosi heard of it. You see, Kosi's marriage was not exactly going as she anticipated. She had gotten married to a man whose wife died mysteriously the month before he came to Akuke to look for a new wife. The dead wife's son had a health challenge which started after he fell and hit his head just a few weeks before his mother died. The health challenge was a partial focal seizure, also called imbecility. Kosi was given a set of rules by Chief Omego, and the most important of it all was for her not to enter his room no matter what. Kosi had always found it very difficult to follow and obey simple instructions. So one day, when Chief had traveled for business, Kosi, as the madam of the house, instructed the housemaids to go downstairs so that she would be free to enter Chief's room in order to see what Chief was hiding there. Of course, she didn't tell them her intentions, but on entering the room, she was greeted by some red and white fabrics used to design the room. That was not all. She also saw the head of a human being with loads of money in the mouth, on top of something that looked like an altar. Kosi immediately ran out and closed the door, fear gripping her. She rushed back into her room and soon her eyes started itching her. She itched and soon realized that she could not see clearly anymore. She was going blind slowly. She screamed as if she was running mad, and when her maids rushed to her and asked what had happened, she magically could not remember going into Chief's room or seeing anything there. It was as if her memory of Chief's room was wiped entirely. Her condition worsened day by day as the blindness went from partial to a full-blown one. All her sleigh came crashing before her, and when she heard the prince's story and how he disguised as a poor drummer and went to the neighboring village to find true love, she knew right away that it was Obinna, her stepsister's husband. That was when she started regretting listening to her mother's evil advice and plots. I need to get away from this house before this man kills me before my time. But how? Kosi thought to herself as she cried herself to sleep that night. A week later, Chief Omego came back to a blind wife, and he immediately knew that she had eaten the forbidden fruits by going into the room he specifically told her not to. Chief Omego was a blood ritualist that hunted for greedy people he would always use to renew his wealth. His first wife was already ill before he used her for sacrifice, and so she did not yield enough money for him. And that was why he went to Akuke, where nobody knew nor suspected him, to catch another fish, which he would nurture until it was the right time to use her for sacrifice. He took Kosi in his car that night, saying he was going to a healer's place to fix her eyes, but instead, he took her into a bush where he operated with his other ritualist friends. And that was where he sacrificed Kosi to his Alosi and used her to renew his wealth. Back in Akuke village, news of her daughter's mysterious death got to Mama Kosi, and she could not comprehend it. The world around her became a blur. Her grip on reality weakened. She wandered through the house, talking to shadows and listening to whispers that were not there. Her mind was a fractured maze, each turn leading deeper into madness. She stopped eating. She couldn't sleep anymore. She was consumed by the ghost of her daughter's absence. She knew this was karma. She knew that all the evil she had done in life had come to haunt her. She knew she was the cause of her daughter's death. If I had not pushed her, if I had not been greedy, if I was a good mother, only if. Ha 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 ha. Oh no, I killed her. I killed my only daughter. Wait, my only daughter? What of Dimma? Oh, Dimma, Dimma, my girl. I was a horrible mother to you. And your father, Chike. Chike, oh. No, I have to see Dimma. Take me to Dimma. Mama Kosi shouted to no one in particular. She immediately sprang up and tried to locate Obinna the drummer's house so that she could get to see Dimma. On getting there, she was told of the latest development and that Dimma was now a princess in Odi, their neighboring village. She could not believe it. She managed to pay a bike man to take her there. And on getting to the palace gate, the guards refused to let her in. And she kept screaming, Dimma, my daughter, oh, I need to see Dimma, my daughter. After a while, the guards went to relate this development to the prince, Dimma's husband. Dimma was very shocked when the prince told her about this, and at first she refused to go see Mama Kosi. But on her husband's subtle conviction, she decided to go with him. On seeing Dimma, Mama Kosi immediately fell on her knees, weeping and wailing. She apologized to Dimma over and over again, saying that she deserved all the pain she is going through currently because she had committed a lot of evil in her lifetime. She told Dimma about Kosi's mysterious death and also confessed to her that out of greed and evil, she paid someone to kill her father, Chike, in the forest that day. Dimma's mouth fell open in shock. She could not comprehend the fact that she had suffered all her life because as a kid, this woman right here had gotten rid of the only source of hope and guide that she had. Tears rolled down Dimma's eyes as she remembered the prayers she said that day. Lord, I ask that whosoever has a hand in my papa's death would never know joy and peace. And when they think that they have what they have always wished for, may it turn around to cause them severe pain and misery. Let what they have done to my papa come back to haunt them 1,000-fold. Amen. She told Mama Kosi that she bears no grudges for her and that anything she was going through currently was left for her and her chi. I hold nothing against you, mother, but as our people would always say, Ifonye metalo, ujiri isi ya buru. This is your karma. Deal with it. Have a good life, mother. Dimma said and went inside the palace immediately. Obinna, her husband, commanded the guards not to let Mama Kosi in. That was how Mama Kosi wandered the town, hopeless and filled with grief and regrets. After a week, news of a woman that hung herself reached the palace, and the king commanded that her body be taken to the evil forest and dumped there. The end. This story is lesson packed. I don't know if you believe in karma or not, but I know that there is a God that looks after his own people. Dimma could have given up on life after her father died, but she held on. She prayed and she believed. Or was it when she was married off to a poor drummer without collecting her bride price. She could have easily cursed God and concluded that her life was worth nothing. But she didn't. She instead resolved to taking her own destiny by her own hands. The Bible says, I will bless the works of your hands. Dimma did not sit around waiting for miracle to happen. She went out to look for a job. All I am saying in essence is keep moving. Keep it moving. You do not know where or how your own miracle would come. Work, pray, and believe. God will surely come through for you. Please comment below what stood out for you in this story. And if this story touched you, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Until I bring another wonderful story your way, remain hopeful. Bye.